were asking in terms of the roots, which is really embedded in hip hop, and Incubus, they're very, very different musical genres. So they were asking what was the most challenging part of transitioning from playing from one band to the other, and are there like certain genres that you enjoy playing more than others?
I get this question a lot, like it's drastic to go from one to the next, but between the Roots and Incubus, like I've listened to hip hop my whole life, and I've listened to rock my whole life. They're two types of music that have always been present. So for me, it wasn't like I'm painting and now I'm going to start sculpting.
Right.
It was like I'm painting, I'm going to keep painting. You know, I might just, instead of painting with reds, I'm going to paint with blues or one or the other. You know, that was kind of the concept. And in my mind, I had done both. Like Race Car was kind of a punk rock band, but I'd listened to R&B and hip hop my whole life and understood it and played that with my brothers and started doing sessions, R&B sessions and hip hop sessions. So it just wasn't a thing. You know, what mattered was going from this group of guys that I had lived in a metal tube with and traveled the world with to this other group of guys that I lived in a metal tube with. And the music is the reward of everything. Like everything that's not playing music is the shit that I don't want to do. And music is the shit that I do want to do. So getting to go from playing with the Roots, who are insanely talented, to playing with Incubus, who are insanely talented, it was just like, oh, this is going to be great. Do I get along with the people? And the guys are awesome, so it was like perfect.
And how are the fans? Did you find the fans from one group to the next to be completely different in like the types of shows and the vibe of everything?
Kind of, sort of. I mean, The shocking thing was replacing like people's favorite member of a band. That's a pain in the ass. I don't recommend that for anyone. You know, it's not that big of a deal. Like the guys in the band treat me like I started the band with them. So in that regard, internally there's no resistance. But there are definitely fans who are like, you replaced my favorite member, I hate you. And it's like, you don't know me, sorry, bro. I didn't mean to do it.
It's funny how that goes,
rough.
though. You know, when any other musician is replacing an identifiable character, there's the visual part of it when you see him live, and I think, from my perspective, less obvious the musical side of it. But it's always a tricky part. You've been in Incubus now much longer than the other bass player, Dirk Lance, who I still stay in touch with. It's interesting, though, whenever you and I talk about Dirk, the fans will compare you two, but how do you rate Dirk as a bass player to bass player?
He's awesome.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with a buddy of mine, and we were talking about musicians that influence us the most. And before I joined Incubus, I appreciated Dirk a lot, and he was the first member of the band that I even ever spoke to. We hung out on Area 1 a bit, and we're like, talking bass shop, and cool dude, and we got on really well. And having to replace him and learn all of his stuff is brought, like, I've never focused on another musician, another single musician more in my life, where it's like, I have to learn what you do. And starting to like reverse engineer all of his bass stuff, he's gnarly. He's incredible. He's one of my favorite bass players, which is like, is a weird thing to say, but it's awesome.
Well, it's funny because he was a terrific bass player, and it speaks to that whole thing of when you change out personalities, people want to read more into that than is really there. And that's why I always thought it was interesting that the Incubus fans were so harsh, and yet I would hear you talk about bass player to bass player. You go, hey, actually, he's a pretty good bass player. Yeah. I guess the controversy was the slap versus the pick, right?
It's like a technique thing, but and I may be shooting myself in the foot here.
Don't do it.
But bass players in general are the type of dudes who care about the details that no one else cares about. And they tend to really be into specific shit that doesn't matter to someone who like, if there's 100 people at a concert, 90 of them don't know who the bass player is.
Yeah.
10 of them do. 5 of them play bass, and 4 of those 5 are sitting there going, "He's doing it wrong. He's got the wrong this. He's got the wrong." And it's just part of the It's part of the personality. It's an attention to detail personality type.
It's funny you should say that, because I could say the same thing's true about lawyers. Every time a lawyer looks at a contract, right, Audrey's over there gritting, they'll go, oh, I wouldn't have done it that way, or this guy blows, and he doesn't know what the hell he's doing.